Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and I want to show you a really simple project that you can change the color of the buttons of your M1 and M2 buttons on the steering wheel of your BMW M car. All right, this really is a simple project, and it's only going to take a couple of tools, but one of the very first things you have to do is actually unplug your battery. Because one of the things you're going to do is you're going to pull the airbag off your steering wheel, and you don't want to get any airbag codes. But you've got a lot of really cool options where you can actually change the M1 and M2 buttons on your steering wheel. Now, the most common colors are red or blue. I actually decided to do blue because of my blue interior. So let's go ahead and take a look at the battery and pull off the negative post. All right, so I'm actually going to remember for once, whenever I pull my battery, you're going to lose your clock, and you're going to lose your radio presets. So if you care about your radio presets, write them down or do something before you pull your battery. Right? So it's 10 millimeter. We're going to pull the negative post. Just loosen up the nut a little bit, just like that. And then the post will come up and off, just like that. So go ahead and take it and just set it aside someplace nice and safe. Tuck it down so it's not a problem. Okay, let's go up and take a look at the steering wheel. All right, so pulling off your airbag, which is why we had to unplug the battery. We don't want any errors from unplugging the airbag. Can be hard or it can be really simple. I actually find the easiest tool to use is a torx bit driver. This is a T30 because it's narrow but has this flat end which is going to allow me to push on the spring. So there's a spring on each side that comes in at an angle, and you're going to slide it in and push on that spring, which will free the clip. Now right here at about the 4 o'clock and about the 8 o'clock position are holes in your steering wheel. Make sure to be careful so you don't ding up your steering wheel. Just take it straight in until you feel it hit the spring. You can feel it hit the spring right there and give a little bit, and it'll pop free on one side. Just transition to the other side, do the same thing. Slide it in until you hit that spring and you'll feel it, and it'll pop and it'll come loose. So now this is off. And keep in mind, if your airbag has never been off, it may be a little bit stiff. There's a tab right here. There's one plug right here for the master plug. So you're going to want to press on that tab, and there you go. So the whole thing is out just like that. Take this and set this aside somewhere safe. Don't drop it. Don't have any problems with it like that. So what I want to make sure to do is show you some of these inner screws, because to get this we need to take this button assembly out, and we're going to have to take your main center column out right here as well. So there are torx bolts here and one right in the middle, right in the back. And they should be T20s. Okay, so just take this and undo them both, or excuse me, undo all three, just like this. So there's one. Make sure not to drop them, that would be a drag. Have to fish them out of the interior of your steering wheel. 2. You could use a impact wrench or something on this, but I really wouldn't do it all by hand, because these are metal screws into plastic, right? And then 3, right here, basically it's opposite of your M logo that holds the center on. So instead of ducking down, I'm just gonna do it by hand here. There we go, because righty-tighty, lefty-loosey is backwards when you're looking at it backwards. So just like that. And yep, there we go. The screw just dropped out. Now, one thing you want to look at here really quickly is the two up here at the top are taller and longer. The one here at the bottom is black and shorter. All right, so the trim should just pop right off. Okay, just like that. And this is the same thing you do if you were changing out your trim as well, right? Okay, just like that. And I've got a little bit of foam adhesive that it was stuck down to as well. Okay, so now that that's out, because your trim overlays over the top of these buttons, so even though there's a hole right here at the back of each side, you wouldn't be able to get this out because your trim is holding this down. It's the whole reason why you have to take all this intersection out. All right, so turn the steering wheel a little bit so the gear stock isn't in the way, and it's going to be another T20. So go ahead and take this back T20 out, and then these buttons this whole button assembly is going to come out and pop free, and I want to show you what that looks like. Okay, so now that I've taken the T20 out of the back right here, and I've set it aside because it's another really small one, so I want to make sure that I put all the same screws back right in the same places that they came out of, right? So now this will come out, and you can flip this over. Now what you're going to see is there are 3 very, very small screws, 1, 2, 3, that holds this cover on. And if we undo those screws, then this whole thing can come out. Now, you could potentially try to unplug it. There's really no point in doing so because we're not going to go that far. All we're going to do is take the cover off, so then we can swap the buttons in, right? So here's my here's my M2 button, right? So here's my M2 button. That's going to swap right into place. Now, the one other thing that you can see when we look at this, there are these little loop locking tabs. So when we get this flipped over, what we're going to do, and we have this cover in hand, we're going to very gently pry on one with your fingers and potentially use a very small pick or a small screwdriver and pry on the other and just push the button out. And then you can turn around and just snap the new one right into place. So let me grab a very, very fine Phillips screwdriver, and then we're going to take this off. Okay, so I have all 3 out and I've just set them aside. You can grab kind of the center post and just work the internals out and away from the switches themselves. So this I'm just going to let sit and hang. So here you go. So now you can see the inside here. So here's our M1 and M2 buttons with the little locking tabs right there. So all you need to do, see if I can get good light on this. All you need to do is hold the tab on one side, so you basically can just use your fingers to pry really gently on one side, and then use something like a small flat screwdriver, like this little guy, on the other. So we're just going to really gently pry this tab away. So I'm going to hold this on one side and then gently pry on the other till the button pushes out. And the button should start to push out here a little bit, so you can see, yeah, it's already out just a little bit. So it's just a matter of just being patient and gentle with this, because what you don't want to do is you absolutely don't want to break this, right? That would be a drag. So there's one side. That side's kind of down pressed. And then the other, I'm going to get my screwdriver in here, very gently push down. There we go. Just like that. So there's the M2 button out. And then you just take your new M2 button, just like that, and push it right back into the same spot, and it snaps right back into place. Just like that. Really, really simple. Good stuff. All right, so I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll very briefly kind of talk through putting everything back together, but it really is this simple. Okay, so just take the cover, slide it back into place, put the top back on. Now note there are 2 little white tabs on the inside. Make sure that they line up with the inside as well. So I've put in all 3 screws, just put them in tight. It's metal into plastic, so don't crank them down too hard. And then just flip this over, and it just goes right back into one spot and fits perfectly. Okay, so now at this point, it's going to be a matter of putting the small T20 back through the back of this. So go ahead and put that in, then put your center cover, your center trim back on. So you've got 1, 2, and 3 through the back, and then you're going to snap your airbag back into place. So I'm going to secure this, secure my center trim, then I'll show you snapping the airbag into place, and you're pretty much done. Okay, so as you can see, everything's back into place. Just all of the screws just down snug, so all your trim is tight. And you could always combine work like this if you were going to replace your trim or upgrade it, but I'm not at this point. Okay, so your airbag only goes in one orientation, right? The roundel in the correct orientation. The plug only goes in one orientation. So just take it and make sure that this plug is pushed all the way back firmly into place, and there should be a little bit of a click. And then just take your airbag, line it up, and press it into place, just like that. And as long as it feels right, which it does, I mean, that would be horn functionality if it had power. So it's locked back into place and it's all set. So now all you have to do at this point is go plug back in the negative terminal on your battery. Again, you're gonna lose your clock, so you're gonna need to reset your clock or let it update to the correct time and reset your radio stations. And you're all done. All right, all done. And as you can tell, this isn't a hard project and something you can do in probably 15 minutes or less with just a couple of tools. So thank you to Keys Motorsports for having such a fantastic product. I love having their stuff in my car. Make sure to click the subscribe button and the little alarm bell, as I have a ton of more content coming up for a lot of different BMWs, and you'll want to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next project.